Okay guys, how's it going? Welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial what I'm going to do is show you how to take that template that we made in HTML5 and make it into a responsive grid. Okay, and what do I mean by that? I mean you're going to make this or something like it, right? And a grid basically is like a checkerboard, and these are all little boxes on the checkerboard here, and these boxes then will shrink and increase in size with your web browser. And this is how people get things to fit onto tablets and phones. Okay, so this is what you're going to be able to do, is learn how to make something that fits on a phone or a tablet. To save time, what I did was I went ahead and coded a bunch of this up, and I'm going to put the code underneath the video so you can access it and copy and paste it and get to work. You can also practice typing it on your own, which is always good practice. But just because I know we're stuck for time, I went ahead and just made it up for you. So here it is. This is basically just a modified version of the HTML5 template that we created the other day. It's linked to a style sheet here, and you can see that I got the style already in here. And let me just go through real quick then and take the stuff that is already made and explain what you're working with. So here's your doc type telling the web browser what it is. Your HTML is already here. The head is the same and nothing has changed. Here's the body tag. The body tag. Here's the div with the wrapper. Everything is wrapped inside of it. Our header is here. Our nav is here. Our section, our article, and then our footer. Okay. Here's what's different. Inside of the navigation, I've added what's called an unordered list. That is a non-numbered list. And so here is the UL tag, the opening UL tag, and the closing UL tag with a backslash. Inside of the unordered list tags, I have list tags, LI, and then closing LI. And then what I had is, or I went ahead and added links inside of the list. So href equals, and this is an empty link. We could just go in and type in http colon backslash www.cnn.com and command S. If we go back to the browser and go there, oops, there we go. We go to CNN. CNN, by the way, is a responsive grid, just so you can kind of see. So as you see, CNN is shrinking and responding to my website, and it's kind of moving slowly because of my screencast software, but you get the point. So major websites use this technique. It's kind of the thing to do right now, and it makes sense because you need to be able to make things that's going to fit on different sizes of screens. Okay. So let's go back. So that's my list, and I'm going to show you okay, a little bit how you can modify the list. So we'll just leave it as it is, just so you can get an idea of how to put stuff in there. Remember, I'm making this stuff for you guys as a reference, so always go back and use it to guide yourselves on your way. So let's go down here. The other thing I've changed is the section, whereas before I had one article tag and I had put it underneath the section, like so. Okay, so they're two separate things. And by the way, I'm doing Command Z to go backwards. You can do it as much as you want in case you mess up. So what I did was I took the article tag and I made 3 copies of it. And then I put some text in the middle of it. And then I put those 3 article tags inside of the section tag. The reason I did this is because I'm just using the section as sort of a sort of container, an inside container, kind of like the wrapper. I don't really need to do anything with it yet. Okay, I just want all those articles to be inside of it for now, and then later on you can see how you can modify that. So when we go to the browser, this is an article, this is an article, and this is an article. So here's some text, here's some text, here's some text. Each article then responds to the size of the web page. Okay? So let's look at how I've created this thing to be responsive. Uh, I do it all in CSS, okay? So this is your CSS, right? Here's your wrapper, body, header, nav list, nav link, section, article footer. One thing to remember, and I think I've mentioned this, but I'm going to just kind of constantly be reminding you that CSS refers to cascading style sheet. So let's go back here real quick. You see that all of these tags kind of float to the right. They sort of cascade to the right, meaning that everything to the right here and inside of these tags sort of is maintained within sort of a parent tag. So the body tag is a parent tag of the div tag is a parent tag of the header tag, etc., etc. Okay, and so your style sheet floats, it cascades along this CSS. Okay, and it also cascades in itself. So I'm putting the wrapper tag first because then everything that comes after the wrapper tag can override what I put inside the wrapper tag. Or anything that I put in the body tag, what comes after it could override that body tag. Okay, and you'll see what I mean in a second. In fact, let's just do this real quick. Let's do, oops, color red. Okay, and there we go. So what I did was I went in and I changed the color of everything in the body. The body is basically the entire screen. Everything on the body is what I just changed. It's the base layer. You'll notice, so my background is 555, and that's a hex code that I talked about in class, and so that's that light gray color, and the color is red. So the background is gray, text color is red, okay? And I've added a margin and a padding of 0. That kind of makes everything flush along the edges here. So for example, if I took that out, Command S to save, went back and refreshed, you see that each web browser has its own sort of automatic formatting with it. This would look slightly different in Chrome and slightly different in Safari and slightly different in Internet Explorer, okay? So there are things you can do to take all that padding out of there, the initial sort of stuff, and that's kind of what I did here. Margin 0 and padding 0. That just, I like kind of working from nothing, and it's a good practice, you'll see. So I've made the body text all red, but I don't want the header color red. So I'm going to make the header color kind of a dark gray. Okay, so I changed the header color to this dark grayish, and it looks black, but it's really a dark gray color. So like I said, initially what I did was changed all the text in the body to red, and then because everything cascades downwards, the header goes below the body, which means the color now is going to be black. Okay? And I'm going to take this out because I really don't want the color to be red. But I can leave the color black on that for now. Okay. Grid system. Let's go back to the grid system. So let's go down to the articles. Here's the article tag. So those 3 boxes here, all right? And what I've done is made each one a width of 30%. So remember, our wrapper is 100%. And so the articles, because they're inside of the wrapper, will be 30% of the wrapper. And there are 3 articles. 1, 2, 3. And so because there are 3 articles, you have basically 90%. Okay? 90% of the web browser space taken up. And I have gaps in between here just to make it look like a grid and add some space. And I've done that by adding a margin of 1.6%. Okay, and it's 1.6 because the numbers we're working with. So this is 30, 60, 90, and the margin basically is on each side here. So that would be 1.6, 1.6, 1.6, 1.6, 1.6, 1.6. All right. And so just to give you an idea, if I did it, if it wasn't 1.6, if I made it like 1%, okay, it'd still be a gap, but it doesn't work out correctly because these are all 30%, which is 90%, and the numbers don't work out correctly. So you have to add just a little bit more to get it the way you want it to. Okay, and you can you can go all the way down the scale there to get it kind of as precise as you want. Sometimes you can go overboard though, like so. So let's go back. Okay, so here we go. That's how we create a responsive grid. Width 30%, we give it a margin, and most importantly, we float it to the left. So let me take that out and show you what happens. Command S to save, go back, refresh. So because I made each article 30% and everything moves from top to bottom, the articles are stacked on top of each other. The articles have a margin of 1.6% all around them, so that has space. It creates that gap. But we don't want it to be stacked up like that. We want it to stretch out. And so what we have to do is say they're going to float, and they're all going to float to the left. So that when we do that and refresh, it stretches them out. And that is because, again, these are all boxes and everything's moving from the top to the bottom. This box here floats to the left, which means that it automatically is going to push everything beneath it to the right. And because this is the same CSS, it's floating to the left and pushing everything beneath it to the right. And that's how you get these boxes to work as a grid now. So they're all pushed like so, and then they will all shrink in with the browser. These two boxes here and here work similarly, but because they're all 100%, they take up the entire width of the screen. And so automatically everything below it is pushed down. Okay? And so that's how that works. So just to give you an idea, let's go back and let's take the section like this and Command C, a couple spaces, and add a new one, Command S. So I've copied and pasted the whole entire section, so I have two sections. Let's go back, let's refresh. So there we go. And that's how it works. You have yourself a grid like so. If we wanted to, we can add a bunch. Go back, and there you go. Grids galore that will open and close with your browser. And so then what you would want to do is go in and put some text in here, or pictures, whatever, let's say you have your photographer and you want to show off your pictures. And this lays them out very nicely, like so. Or you like Pokemon or Magic cards or whatever. You can put them all in here and display them. And in fact, we're going to use this kind of setup later on when I show you guys how to do some flashcards and sort of like a memory game with JavaScript and stuff like that. It's all kind of based off of this grid system. Okay. While I'm here, just to give you a few more tricks, I don't like this navigation over here. It's all crunched together. So let's tweak that a little bit. Let's go back to our CSS and let's go to our navigation. You notice that my navigation is floated to the left as well. Let's just, see what happens if we take that out of there. Command S, right? So, because everything's floating from the top to the bottom, even these here, okay, need to float in order to make things work correctly. So, Command Z, let's go back. Okay. Refresh. Okay, there we go. So let's go back in here and navigation. Here's our list. So we have a navigation and then we have a list inside the navigation. So remember, everything's cascading. So let's go up here, navigation, and then our list. Our list is what we're addressing. Our list is what we want to spread out. So let's go back here and let's do a width of, let's say 20%. Let's see what that looks like. There, okay. And so you shrink it in, and it also responds. Okay, now they're kind of far apart. You know, let's not make it 20. Let's make it 10. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Oops, nope, that doesn't, because we're percentages and they're going to shrink it and close into each other. So what we could do, in fact, we don't have to use percentages. We can do pixels. Let's say we do it 100 pixels and save it and refresh. Okay, so now it remains at 100 pixels, and then when it shrinks, it just kind of falls down on itself. What you're going to see is there's a whole bunch of different ways to do things, and we're just kind of scratching the surface right now, but I really just want to give you a basic idea how to do this. All right, so this doesn't really look fantastic, and it's not supposed to, because it's just a basic framework right now. So what you can do at this point is go here and let's go File, let's go Save As, and let's call this Grid Template, right? And let's just save it. And just to keep things separate, let's go here. I should have done this before. Let's type this. Let's make this Grid CSS, right? So let's Command S again, since we already saved it. Grid CSS. Let's go to the CSS and File, Save As, and we'll make this Grid CSS. So now we have a grid template and a grid CSS. Okay, everything works. So now we have two templates to use. So now when you go and create something new and you want to do a grid, open up your grid template and you can just start filling stuff in. And then remember, File, Save As when you're done, and save it as something new. Or you can start out the project by just saying File, Save As, and give it a new title. File, Save As, Pokemon, right? And then go ahead and start filling out your Pokemon stuff. Remember to save your style sheet with it so that you save your template. Okay? So there is your HTML5 responsive grid. Play around with it and break it. Make sure you save the original template, but then mess around with all this stuff. Mess around with the CSS. Go in here and float something to the right. Okay, just to see what happens. Oops, here we go. So float it to the right. So you float it to the right, stuff goes all the way over to the right. Okay, go in here and play with it and see what happens. Don't be afraid to break it, because that's how you learn. Remember, go to W3 Schools. W3schools.com. Here's HTML, here's CSS, here's JavaScript, here's a whole bunch of stuff. But these three here, these are what we're working with. If you type on the tutorials and follow them step by step, it's basically kind of everything that we're talking about. Over here are the links. So if you want to know about CSS floating, you go here to floating, and here you go. Basically what I showed you is right here, explaining how to do it. And giving you a few little extra tidbits here and there that we can work with later on. Lists, how to make CSS lists. All right, here. Okay. So again, highly recommend you come here and check out all these different tutorials on your own. It's really easy to follow along. Okay, and so I hope this was helpful. Remember, if there's something you want me to show you, let me know. I'll make a video for it. Keep checking the website, because I will do a bunch of these and put them up as fast as I can to give you guys something to do, because I know you learn quickly. All right, so I will see you guys on Tuesday, and have a fantastic time.